Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another video in Coding with Thiago. Thanks for watching this video, and in today's video we are going to talk about Jest matchers. So we are going to continue our series about software testing. In the previous video we were talking about an introduction about testing with Jest, right? We created our calculator code here. So for example, we created the calculator class and we applied tests for the sum method, right? And in this video, we are going to create a new file and talk about matchers, right? So what are matchers for beginning the conversation? So basically matchers, as you can imagine, they will be used to validate if a value or an expression, if they match a certain value that we are expecting to our codes to match, for example, right? So imagine that here we have the calculator file and we need to test if this a plus b will result exactly in the a plus b, right? So we have this matcher, which is the toBe. So we expect that the result to be 3. So this is our matcher, and we have a lot more. As you can see here, we have toBe, we have to throw, and we were just using both of these matchers in the previous video, just for an introduction. In this video, we are going to talk about the most common matcher that we can use with Jest, right? Just a disclaimer: I will not cover all the matchers in this video because we have a few special matchers that I want to cover in this special video. So we will be talking about the common and most used, right? So first of all, I will be creating here a new file. So I will call it matchers.test.js. Okay, perfect. So just creating a describe here to group our matchers. Yeah, perfect. Matchers. Just creating a describe here to group all of our matchers tests, right? So I will be creating another describes here for our sections. Perfect. So for example, we are going to talk about the common matchers, and these are the matchers that we can use with all of our data types, right? So we can use with strings, numbers, objects. Anyway, we can use with everything almost. Perfect. Common matchers. We will be talking about describe. We will be talking about truthiness too. Okay, as you guys can see, I am repeating a lot of code here, so I strongly recommend you guys to install an extension here, Jest snippets, which is, let's see, this one here, this first one, right? So it will basically brings to our VS Code some snippets that we can use to use better our time writing our code. Perfect. So we can install it here. Okay, it's enabled. As you can see here, I can just write desk and press enter. It will automatically fill some value for me, right? So let me just come back to here. It will be better. So we are talking about truthiness. Now we are going to talk about numbers. We are going to talk about strings, and we are going to talk about arrays and iterables, and for the last but not less important, we are going to talk about exceptions. Perfect. All right. So as you guys can imagine, if we run here, you guys already saw my tests here. Yarn tests matchers. Let's just run this file here. Okay, so we are receiving an error here because we don't have any test case here right now. Perfect. So Jest requires us to have at least one test suite in our file. So let's start with common matchers. So let's see, test should test the toBe matcher. So in this case, we need to test the toBe matcher, and this matcher, when should we use it? Because toBe, as you can imagine, we are comparing if certain value should be equals to something, right? So it should be something. So we can compare, we can use it to compare if the value is extremely the same thing as the result that we are expecting. Perfect. So let me just show you an example here. So expect 1.2 to be, whoops, to be 1, right? This will be passing. We are in test measures because 1 is 1, right? So behind the scenes, just use object.is to validate, right? So 1 and 1, right? So we use this to validate behind the scenes. So this is doing basically the same thing. So we are comparing the value and the type, and if we are using an object, for example, the value in the memory. Perfect, because here 1 and 1, it is the same value, is the same type, is the same reference in the memory, right? So we can use this for this thing here, but we can use, for example, for an object a, b, to b, a and b. I can't use in this way, right? Because they are not the same. They are not the same thing. They are not. They are the same type because we are creating an object with the same with a property a and value b, but they are different in the memory, right? They have different memory addresses. So, for example, let me just copy this and get back what we had before. If I want to compare in this way, I need to use something different. I need to use the toEquals. So should test the toEqual method. And right now I will be able to compare toEqual this. Perfect, because it will iterate all of the keys of the property, the object. It is the same thing with an array, right? Expect 1, 2, 3 to equal 1, 2, 3. It will be the same result as you guys can see, right? Because it is not comparing with the memory address, for example. It is comparing the object itself. It is iterating and checking all the properties, if it's an object, all the values, if it's an array. So as you guys can imagine, this is working behind the scenes with not object.this, right? But I can still compare pure values. So test to equal test. Perfect. Perfect. And as you guys are seeing here, I am using more than one expect inside a single test, right? We can do this, but it's not recommended because a test suite should test just one thing, right? So if we are starting to test more than one thing here, it is probably a red flag for our test because our test should just test one specific thing. Perfect. So I'm doing this right now because of course we are learning here, we are testing, but in a real world scenario, as you guys will be checking in the next videos, we will not be doing this because this is not what we want to do. We want to test just one thing specifically in our test. Perfect. All right. So we have the toBe and toEqual methods being tested here, and these guys, they are, how can I say, they are very used when we are writing tests because we can use them with almost everything. We can use with booleans, arrays, we can use with objects, strings, etc. We can use with everything. So they are very helpful when we are writing our tests, right? So these guys, we will be using them a lot. Perfect. The next section, we are going to talk about the truthiness. So truthiness, basically, we need to test if the values, they are true, they are falsy, but not using true or false. We need to see if they are something positive or negative. What I mean, so test, let's see, should test the toBe truthy, yeah, matcher, right? Perfect. So in this case, what should we do here right now? The toBe truthy, it will basically validate if something is truthy or not. Well, it doesn't make so much sense, right? Because we need to test here if something is defined or null or something like that, right? Because imagine a scenario that we can have null or undefined and so on. So with this, we can validate if something is defined or not, but we have the toBeDefined, and we will be talking about it later. So expect true to be true. Let me copy quickly here. To be truthy. This will be passing here, right? Because true, it's a truthy value, and it's alright. But if we pass here null, it will start to fail because null is not truthy. It's falsy because it's not a defined value. The same will happen if we pass here undefined, right? Undefined will be failing the test too. Perfect. So we have values like this that will not pass here, but if we pass to be false, oops, then it will start passing because we are testing if the value is falsy, not if the value is false, but if the value is falsy. So that is a little a line between a false and a falsy value because we are comparing if the value doesn't have a how can I say, we are testing if the value doesn't have a value. It's indeed, right? And with the truthy, we are testing exactly this, to be truthy. Well, I'm not so good in writing today, so I don't know. Let me check. What want to be truthy? It will be true. Oops, matchers here. Yeah, it will be truthy. But if we start testing the opposite scenario, to be falsy, as you guys can imagine, one will not be falsy, one will be truthy. But if we pass 0, let me check 0. I don't know. Yeah, no, 0 it's also truthy because it has a value, right? It has a value. 0 it's a value. Expect null to be falsy. Oops, and I'm passing wrong, to be falsy. Yeah, perfect. Let me check here right now. 0 to be falsy. Yeah, I was wrong. Sorry, guys. So basically, to be falsy, 0 will be falsy too. Falsy. Perfect. And that's it. But if we need to test if something is not falsy, but we don't want to use the truthy, we can use it for everything in all matchers, right? We can use the not to be falsy, not to be truthy, not to be, not to equal, and so on. We can use it for everything, right? So one not to be falsy, and yeah, it will be passing here. Perfect. Let me get back to 0. Remove the not, and to be falsy, and everything should be passing. Perfect. Of course, we also have some matchers for testing values specifically. What I mean, test should test the to be null matcher, right? And as you guys can imagine, we have a few more. To be undefined, and of course we have to be defined, right? As you guys can imagine, they are basically some assertions to validate if the values are null, undefined, defined, just to validate if everything is running as we expect. expect, let me see, 0 to be null. Of course, it will not pass because 0 is not null. This time I'm right. Because 0, it has the value 0, right? Perfect. So if we pass null here, null, now it will be passing because null, it's null. Yeah, perfect. The same thing is to be undefined. If I pass null here, it will be fading because null, it also has a value because it is defined, but it's defined as null. So null is different from undefined, right? Undefined to be undefined. Now it should be passing. Perfect. And the same thing to be defined. Right now, if we pass anything here, it should be passing because anything that we pass here, it will be defined, right? The only thing it will fail our test here is if we pass undefined for this function, right? So with this, we finished the truthiness section and we can start going to the next one. So we have the numbers, and the numbers, it is, how can I say, interesting because we have the toBe, we have the toEqual, but we also have all the number comparisons that we have when we are doing any conditionals. So for example, we have greater than or equals, less than or equals, right? So we have all of the scenarios and we can use them to test if our code is returning them correctly. So for example, should test the toBe greater than matcher. I will remove this. Should be greater than or equals. Should be less than, and should be less than or equals. Perfect. So as you guys can imagine, again, it will be testing the value of the numbers, right? So we are basically doing a comparison here, like an if, like a conditional, to see if the number is matching that condition, right? So here expect for to be greater than 3. It should pass because 4 is greater than 3, right? Perfect. But if we pass here 5, no, it will be fading. And of course, if we pass here 4, it will be failing again because 4 is not greater than 4. 4 is greater than or equals of 4 is equals to 4. So this matcher doesn't match. Perfect. So we should pass 3 here. And now if we want to test if the value can be greater or equals to a number, so or equals. So as you guys can see, it will be failing because we don't have this function. Is this to be greater than or equal? Let me just fix this here. So as you guys can see, we are passing. But if we start adding here right now, the 4 number, it will be passing again. Why? Because this time it is equals, right guys? But if we pass here 5, it will not be passing because 5 is greater than 4 and not 4 greater than or equals to 5, right? And the same will happen again here to these next two guys. So 5 to be greater than or equals to 4. Sorry, we should use to be less than or equal. No, it's just less than 3. In this case, it will be, of course, failing, right? Because 5 is not less than 3, but is less than 6. Oops. What happened? Don't know what happened here to be graded. I don't know. Sorry, I forgot to update this test here. My bad. Perfect. And 5 to be less than or 6. Yeah, it's passing, as I said before. And again, right here, expect 4 to be, and here it's equal. To be less than or equal to 4. So we are using the 4, the equal again in this scenario. Perfect. Perfect. So with this, we finished covering the numbers, and now we should test the strings. Strings, they are basically pretty simple. We have toBe, we have toEqual, and we have toMatch, where we can use strings, or we can use sorry, I forgot the word, regular expressions, right? So as we already tested toBe and toEqual, we are just going to test the toMatch right now. Should test toMatch matcher. So expect some value to match. Just opening an expression, regular expression here. Some value. Oops, some value. Perfect. And as you guys can imagine, we can start playing here because we are using regular expressions. We can use ignore case here. No problem, it will be passing. Again, we can start doing different things here. Value, it will be passing because we are using regular expressions, right? So we can basically do whatever we want here, and it will be, of course, whatever we want. How can I say? But we need to have the regular expression correct here, right? But we can also value to match some value. It will be working also because it's the same value, right? Perfect. Now we have the iterables in arrays, of course. Perfect. So what we want to test here, arrays and iterables, we can test a lot of things, but to be quick, we can test, for example, if an array contains something, if an iterable contains something, because we already tested the toEqual matcher, right? And basically they are the most used for arrays and iterables. So let me show you guys here. Should test the toEqual with a matcher with arrays, right? So if I pass here expect 1, 2, 3 dot toEqual 1, 2, 3, it will be working because they are the same, right? Because they have the same values. So it will iterate over here and check all the properties. Yeah, as I said before, right? But if we want to validate if the array contains something, we can also use the toContain, and then we can validate here if it contains the number 2. Perfect, it will be working because because the array contains the number 2 indeed, right? So it's working. Let me just toEqual. Let me just fix this. 2, 3. Yeah, perfect. Test. Let's work with the contain here. toContain matcher. Perfect. Expect 1, 2, 3 to contain 2. All right. Perfect. So we are testing 1, 2, 3, and it contains the number 2. But we can also do the same thing with iterables. So for example, if we open and expect here to contain the number 3, but instead putting an array here, we put new set, and then we put the array of inside this interval 1, 2, 3. It also will be working because it will iterate over the array, over the set, the map, and it will check if it contains the value or not, right? Okay, what else we are forgetting here? Okay, so just to finish, we can test also, we can use matchers for test exceptions. So for exceptions, we just have the to throw, which we checked in the previous video, but we are going to see in details here, right? So test should test the to throw. Oops, throw matcher. Perfect. So expect new error test to throw new error test. Of course it will not be working because we need to encapsulate it over here. No, expected message did not throw. What is happening here? Okay. Let me just figure out what is happening here. Of course, guys. This was totally my bad here. I was forgetting to use the throw word. Where was my mind? So to throw errors here inside Jest, we need to use the throw keyword as we should do inside any code. We should throw the error, right? So we can say that we are throwing a new error test, right? So it should throw test, but we can also should throw new error. It also be working. Perfect. If I'm not wrong, we can use regular expressions here too to validate. Test. Yeah, perfect. So we can use regular expressions to validate, we can use the error, we can use just strings to validate the message. So we can use a lot of matchers here, not matchers itself, but a lot of custom validations inside the to throw matchers to see if the error is being thrown correctly, right? And let me just add this to my user settings. So yeah, this is a Brazilian Portuguese word for tests. Okay, well, that's it. We covered all the common matchers that we will be using in our videos, right? We have the to have been called and its family, but we'll be covering it in a special video because it is a lot of things to cover, because we need to talk about mocks, we need to talk about assertions and a few more things before we start getting into to have been called, right? Well, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I know this video it's a little bit longer than the others, but I guess this series will be a little bit longer than usual because we are covering a lot of topics, we are talking about a lot of things, but I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot of things, right? Well, that's it. See you guys in the next video. Bye.